Good afternoon, everyone. Russell Wright, networkempire.com. So good to see all of you. Call is filling up fast. This is the much awaited. I'm not going to say it's actually an emergency webinar. I do think that it's an update that I know Sue and Jimmy really wanted to give everybody in our community. We're going to talk about Mobilegeddon today. I have Sue Bell, Jimmy Kelley on the line with us. Just give me a one if you can hear me so that I know that we are doing a sound check here, that we're good. Lots of people coming in. Thanks, Thomas. Thomas, I'm not sure about your question. This is really more about the Armageddon update. Let me see if Mobilegeddon update. Let me just double check that at the end of the call, okay? Also, please use our help desk. All right, so I'm just going to get right out of the way. Jimmy's got a lot to cover. And if you have any questions, I'm going to be manning the help desk, the help question panel here, and I'll try to make sure that they get the information. Thanks, Jimmy and Sue, for being with us today and on such a short notice. I'm really excited about this webinar. Let's go for it.
All right, thanks, Russell. So how is everyone today? Are you guys doing good?
Yep, they're loving it. Fabulous, super. This is going to be awesome. Thanks for doing this. Good morning. It was just a huge number of response.
All right, excellent. Well, I'm glad you guys are all doing well. We are going to go over the mobile-friendly update that happened, as Russell mentioned, the Mobilegeddon. So there's some different things. Hold on one sec. My kids just got home from school.
Crickets, crickets, cricket. I'm just kidding.
Right.
Okay, then. Thank you. Good night. So this is the awesomeness of being able to do business in your own home. We could turn this into an opportunity. All right, let's see who else we got coming in the room here.
It's all good until the kids come home from school.
Jazz is saying, okay, happy hour just in time.
Right?
Okay. Looks like Annie just came in.
Where the heck is the tequila bottle? Oh my goodness.
Hello, Marina.
It's always the 3 o'clock time frame.
It's the 3 o'clock. Oh, that's right. It's like
3 o'clock time frame and kids.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I apologize.
No worries.
Okay. I took care of the issue, though.
Duct tape everywhere.
That's okay. You only have about 35 more years of that. You're good.
Yeah. It'll be an end of the site someday.
Ooh.
All right, so mobile-friendly websites. So how many of you experienced a drop from the mobile update? Just give me a 1 if you did, or 2 if you didn't, or 3 if you don't know.
Mine would be a 3.
Keep. So,
well, this is amazing.
So it's kind of like some of you don't know, and some of you say, so it's about half and half so far of people say no, and then others say I don't know if I did or not.
And I also know other people in the community that probably haven't arrived yet really have been impacted. Okay. So it's kind of a mixed bag really in the community.
All right, so we want to go over some of this then for those of you that don't know. So Mobilegeddon really was about trying to get everybody's site up to speed with having a responsive design on their website, something that's a little more friendly that people can work with, you know, when they're out and about searching on their phone. Google wants to present good websites fast. It's kind of interesting too if you think about the most recent updates that we've had, like, you know, the page speed update, and then we got the Mobilegeddon, and there's been mention of the Phantom Update 2 that's been going on. You know, all this really points to really what Russell has coined as engagement rank. Engagement rank is probably one of the most important things that you can do on your site right now. As far as, like, you know, it's one thing just to get something responsive. It's another thing to have something that's responsive and that attracts people's attention and encourages them to do, you know, to stick around on your site, to dig down deeper into it, and so forth. Do you want to go over engagement rank for a minute, Russ?
Sure, totally. Can you hear me?
if you would be so kind.
Okay. Yes,
Hit him on the
engagement.
Yes.
spot.
That's all right. Engagement rank is anything that has to do with hooking an actual real human being on the website to do stuff of any kind, really. Our team has sat back and actually started to make a list of the various things that are engagement rank. But here's just to name a few. You can go to engagement-rank.com or go to the wiki entry. It's really anything that is, my first definition of engagement rank is quite technical. In other words, if you can put a button or a widget or anything on the site that they can look at or come back for, anything from even robots, that like artificial intelligent robots, I'm into testing those right now, where these stupid little robots engage, especially in the teen market or the certain kinds of markets that do really, really well, where you're actually talking to them. Those work well. Video is engagement rank because they're kind of stuck watching a media inside of a media, and they're engaged. Anything that causes engagement. Now, doesn't have to be a mechanism, a technical mechanism. It can also be articles that are truly and authentically created by human beings and are interesting, remarkable, insightful. One of the ways to create engagement is to be first on a topic. That's why journalism and media is so popular. Anything that's super creative or unique and extremely useful. Anything that's prepared to adapt with this like futuring. So that's Kevin Gibbons' definition, but our focus at Network Empire on engagement rank is any kind of technical mechanism that you can use to hack or attract attention. Because we really live in an attention economy. And this is something that I got from my friend Alexander Bard, who wrote the Future Eureka trilogy, really talks about attentionalism. So what we're really trying to do is get anything that can distract your market and get them engaged on anything on your site to increase the time on site. Does that make sense? It can be a video game. One of my friends is doing really, really well right now with actually putting those Flash video games on their site in the kids market. I mean, the engagement rate goes through the roof, and the time on site is something like 6 hours or something insane. So obviously, does that make sense, you guys? So anytime you have social signaling as well, even when somebody has to press a button to click a social engagement or to pin it, I would consider pinning something to be engaging. If you don't have those social media pin buttons on your site, they're worth putting there if it makes sense for you, because then the audience has to play around with those little buttons and widgets. A survey isn't something that's engaging. A video game, of course, our Video Kraken technology is all about engagement because people like to watch television. Anything that's entertaining. Entertaining is kind of my favorite type of engagement because people are essentially bored. They go through something called the 7 cycles of boredom that we only teach during certification and these types of things. But these are all about why human beings need to engage and want to engage. So it's really about capitalizing that. I don't want to use the word exploit, but that's another word for it. You want to make sure that the human beings are staying on your website as long as possible. So give them little widgets and doohickeys to play with. And again, we haven't, this list that Jimmy has up here is not comprehensive. There is so many, as we begin to sit down and look at it, there's literally dozens of things you can do. And now one of the things I will say is when you put things like social buttons or widgets or videos or games or talking robots or, banners, interactive banners is another one, by the way. You can actually create games out of your banners. It's a few company. Banner Snacks has a lot of those animated GIFs if you want to look at those. Those are literally engagement rank nested into your call to action as a banner. That would also be engagement rank. My point here is that don't do anything that's going to detract people from the content of your site. Make sure that your content remains focused unless you're on your secondary layers. So that probably summarizes it. Would you agree, Jimmy? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good.
Okay.
I think that's a good overview of engagement rank.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Heidi, you are correct. I haven't updated this. I will take. Actually, the authorship mechanism of Google is gone, but it's still good. Like if you have a famous author, they're going to engage. They're going to pull more engagement. So we were thinking more in terms of media, but you're right. Authorship in Google's not what it used to be. So we're dealing more with just like who wrote it. Okay, cool.
So, and Jazz is asking. I see your comment in there about the Phantom update. We'll go over that too today. So. So basically, let's dig in and see if you guys even have a issue here. So one thing you can do when you're going in, you want to have your site on Google Analytics, and hopefully you all know how to verify that through analytics. I know we have some training on that somewhere. That's in Tech Foundation 1, isn't it? For the getting your site all set up for tracking and everything.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so great place to start. If you guys don't know how to do that, go into a lot of different layers and the reasons why behind it. But anyways, when you first log into your Google Analytics, you can just click on Overview, and then there were these portions up here. So you have segments that you can add in right here if you just want to do a quick overview of what's important to you. So you can set up goals or whatever else, but for your stuff specifically and comparing it to the Mobilegeddon, we just want to check and see, we want to do the mobile traffic, so I click that, and then another segment portion pops up here so we can add another one to it. So we just want to go down and put in the desktop traffic as well. Okay, and now the other thing that you probably want to pay attention to, although usually if it's bad on one, it'll be bad on the other, is just your bounce sessions, just to see if you have people that are coming to your site and then leaving right away. So once you get your mobile and your desktop traffic up there, you can just go ahead and go down here and click Apply. I'm assuming everyone can see my screen, by the way. And so this gives us a nice little overview of kind of what our traffic is for the month here, or the past 30 days. So it's kind of interesting by breaking it out in the graph section, you can kind of see like, okay, where am I getting most of my traffic from? And this is something specifically, especially if you had this set up prior to the update, you'll be able to tell if there's something going on here, right? So around April 27th is when people really started seeing a drop. Let me pull up some of my screenshots from the sites here so you guys can see. Let me just drop this into here. This will be a little bigger. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, so you can see when we're looking at right here, usually around, I've seen them as early as the April 27th, but usually within this time frame between May 2nd and April 27th, you would be seeing a drop in your rankings typically. So that's what you're going to want to look at that time frame to see if something is going on. So now there's some other interesting updates that came along with Mobilegeddon. So people were talking about the Phantom Update 2. So they didn't know what it was, and they didn't know why they saw a decrease in some of their rankings and their traffic, and we will go into that, but that'll tie into the Mobilegeddon stuff. And also, the anniversary of Penguin was also around this time frame. So, lucky for us, Google likes to just kind of mesh all these things into one just to throw us off the scent, right? Because if we know exactly which algorithm we're looking at, then it's a little easier to isolate and make corrections to come back from those types of drops that we see. So really that's the time frame you want to look at. So when you're looking in here, I'd definitely say that if you guys had some mobile traffic going before or excessive amounts, and you're seeing your rankings just totally tank and you're not responsive, so as in you haven't put a mobile compliant design onto your website, then you need to really go and get that fixed, because I'll show you a few examples here. The one I just showed you here, this was not mobile compliant, right? So you can see that, this top line up here is the #1 position, and you can see like somewhere in here, it was page 1, and then it just slowly tanked over time for that, and it took a while to bring it back, right? So definitely something to look at. Let me find another example. So on this one, drop this into the browser. So on this one, we had the same effect, right? So April 30th, again, you can see the same kind of trend. April 30th, you start seeing that sharp drop. We responded quicker to this one as far as this goes for how quickly we resolved the issue and got a responsive design put up on it, and it recovered quite quickly. Now, there's some things when you're looking at, what's going on with your site, you could put it into the mobile-friendly test tool that Google has. If you're looking for the URL string, you just go in there and hit, Google mobile-friendly test tool, and it'll be the first link you come across. But, put your site in here. Even if you have gone out and gotten it mobile compliant, you still may be pulling some errors and things on here. And I've seen different suggestions come up from here. So once it goes through, it'll say, this is a mobile-friendly page. You're like, that's awesome. I've been compliant. But they'll say, here's some things you might want to work on. So that's this little section down here that you're looking at. So if everything's good, see, so this one was having problems with the Google Analytics JavaScript or something. But if there might be different issues down here. So I've seen anything from you're mobile compliant, but your text size is still too big, or you're mobile compliant, but your images aren't resizing, or you're mobile compliant, but your thumbnails are too close together. So even if you do have a mobile responsive website, you want to make sure there's still no errors on here. So I recommend going and putting your site into the mobile-friendly test tool through Google and just take a look and see if there's any errors that pop up underneath here. And there's places to go on this page if you do get it to say, need to fix this or that, or just Google it or talk to your web developer about it. That's a whole nother story of how competent people are with their web designs. But so that's what we went and did. So the other thing that was interesting is on this other example right here, you'll notice that it took quite a long time. Whoops. It took quite a long time for this site to come back. So that other example I showed you, it started responding right away. You could tell that this one did take, an additional 2.5 weeks to actually kick back in. So one of the other issues that we found is even though we'd addressed all the mobile issues on this, you want to make sure that you're going in and checking your cache settings on there. For this website in particular, I think the cache was set to I think it was like either every 2 weeks or every 30 days or something like that. So, when Google goes initially and crawls it and then you fix something and send it back, it's not going to register that you have new changes in here. So you want to make sure that you're resetting your cache and everything. And then once you get your site cleaned up or more responsive with the errors that you find with the friendly test tool, then you want to go ahead and resubmit your sitemap for your website to get that to really kick in again. As you can see, it did down here finally. But that was what took so long with this one. So now, aside from that, there's another cool one that that we were using, and this one's like how responsive is your website, which could or could not be used as a backlink.
Whoops.
Suggestions. So anyways, when you come in here, you could just drop your same URL in here, and there's some crazy stuff that we found, and this is where it starts getting interesting with tying into the bounce rate and everything. So let me see, where was I going to go here? Guess we can just grab this. So then you can just select, just using the iPhone or whatever to look on here. But this is going to give you a snapshot of basically what it looks like. I mean, you do get this initial page from the Google Friendly Test tool that you see, but you can also kind of scroll down through here and just see how it looks as somebody is scrolling down on their phone. So you can see if it's actually worth, like how's the layout look, how's, do we have user interaction on this, yada, yada, yada. So my first take on this is, this is the jimmykelley.org site, but would this actually be engaging for someone that came to this site? If this is the initial snapshot, I mean, if I was looking for me, I might be interested, know I'm in the right place, but at the same time, there's not really anything here. I mean, I'm picking up like SEO, but, your first impression says a lot typically for, say they've never been to your site or even know who you are and they haven't gone to it on the PC. Well, this on the phone is just the same thing. We need to make a great first impression. So this is something that you might want to clean up, right? So you want to get some kind of call to action up here, maybe get some more nav links in here. There's not really much else that they can click on and go do other than scrolling down and reading. So to me, this would cause a very high bounce rate as far as like any type of mobile user that comes into the site would do. So something very interesting with this is, this brings us back to the Phantom update. So with everything that's been going on, they're doing more of a focus on mobile, right? They're trying to usher in a better experience for people using their mobile phones. So the interesting thing with this is we have our page load time, and now we have to be mobile compliant. And one thing I thought that was interesting for sites that weren't recovering, even though we addressed all the issues on the mobile side of things, was, I'll give you a screenshot of this one. This is one of them that wasn't mobile responsive, and we made it mobile responsive, but it's still just kind of sloughing along. And this is classic of a Panda penalty, right? So had an initial first drop, and then it's just doing a slow bleed as time goes by. And so what we're looking at with the Phantom is really your page layout algorithm. So, and this kind of makes sense when you think about it, because there's certain elements that they pick up with on the PC side of things, but wouldn't that be also true on the side of mobile? If they're also addressing this algorithm, why wouldn't they also want a great user experience for people coming to the mobile version of your website? And so this is why I recommend you guys go and put your website into this tool to see how does this look? How is my website looking? Because I can tell you, let me share this one. I should have loaded these up beforehand, but it just takes an extra little time. So here we go. So right here where the green arrow is, I couldn't share exactly how this looked only because, for client confidentiality. So what do we have here? We have a heading tag right here where the green arrow is pointing, which is pretty interesting, but now what do we have right underneath it? How many of you have been into the traffic hospital course? Give me a 1. Two if you have not.
It's a mixed bag.
Yeah, another mixed bag. So one of the triggers for Panda is putting an image right underneath your H tag, right? So with this here, as you scroll down the page, this happened, so on this page specifically, just give you a background, since I can't show you the whole thing, there's multiple images on this page and multiple H tags, but yet underneath every single one, before you even get to the text, you're dealing with an image right under the tag. So when you put these things together, Google doesn't discriminate between, is this an ad or is this a, an actual image of the site. They don't care. So anytime they see too many above the fold, they're going to ding you. So you want to pay attention to too many images. So the same as what would be when you're looking at it through the eyes of so sorry, I got distracted there. So you never want to put the important thing is you never want to put the image underneath the H tag. But when you're looking at this from a perspective of Google, when we look at a top-heavy ad space on a PC, the same would hold true as if you're looking at it from a mobile perspective and really target in on what you're looking at from a mobile standpoint. So if you're going through your site, and just like the one that we showed over here, this isn't so great. We do get to content, but it's well below wherever they would see up here. So in an ideal situation, I'd want my call to action here, a short logo for the website, and get right into something, maybe a video or content right away. And I would want it probably on this first tab here as soon as they land. Something that's going to take them somewhere else on your site or help them quickly find what they're looking for to drive that bounce rate down. So that's really what you got to kind of look at. I really think that with the Phantom update that they've really juiced up how a page looks. It's your page layout algorithm, but it's been knocked up a notch. And the reason being is because they're going into this mobile-friendly version. So you really want to see how those elements, and those of you that haven't taken Traffic Hospital, I recommend it because you're going to know exactly what each of those elements are through that course. But for sure, never put an image under a header tag. Your H1, your H2, and you don't want to have too many pictures up above the fold before you even get to your content. Panda works on a checklist, and as it goes through, you hit too many checks, and you're going to get slapped with Panda. And depending on how severe those are, you're going to have either a slight drop or you could have a dramatic decrease. And so that's really what you're looking at with the Phantom update. So let me see. What else were we going to
One
cover?
question that came up, Jimmy, was maybe you got it already, but is the video after the H tag better than an image?
Well, I would say, yes, a video will count as a piece of content. So whether you go straight into your content or an image, it'll be the same.
Okay.
Google considers that content in the eyes of Google. So.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think. Anybody have any questions while I'm trying to think of the next space I was going into?
That was the main question. Is clicking on a phone number reducing your bounce rate? I would still consider clicking a phone number engagement, but I actually don't know the mechanism. It depends on the mechanism of the phone call. I mean, obviously they're going to be on your phone while they click it.
Yeah,
It would increase your time on site.
Yeah, I think they would definitely associate that with user engagement.
Yeah, and the sliders issue, Jimmy has criticized in the past, but I'll let him speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, another part of the Panda issue that you'll deal with this is just part of your page layout test. I mean, let me see if I can log into one real quick just to show you guys. Let me find one here. Hold on one sec while I dig for this.
No worries. Any other question why he's doing this, guys? Okay, let me see. Heidi said, I had another question. Are Bing and Yahoo now targeting mobile-friendly sites?
Yeah, Bing is definitely, Bing has come in and said that they are going to reward sites that are mobile-friendly as well.
Cool.
So, and the interesting thing is when you look at, well, let me find this first before I go off on that. Okay. So this usually will just give it a minute to load. Everybody see my screen again, okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, so we're going to show our color. I'm going to show our browser size. Show the percentiles. So this is basically your page layout algorithm inside your analytics, right? So this is showing like where people are clicking based off of your site. And for most of the page layout algorithm, I mean, you want they usually show the percentage. I wonder why it's not showing up this time. Typically, you want your content to start within this range here at very least. So you can see, like on my site, that specific header size is way too big, and obviously I have menu issues going on up here. But this is basically what you're looking at. The content portion of what they actually count starting happens way down here, where it needs to be starting is way up here. So, and that's something to pay attention to also when you're looking at your, the mobile version of your site. So, something to take into consideration.
Excellent.
Your percentages are starting to come in there.
Oh, yeah, that's a problem with this thing is it loads so slow half the time, but it's worth just, running it through your, it's worth running it through just to see how your site is comparing with others. So, something to pay attention to. Yeah, as long as you can get content. So content should really be between an H tag and the start of your content. So whether you put an image or a video right underneath an H tag, or if it's a piece of content, then that's really what they're looking for. But typically with my images and stuff, I'll put them. You either Wright justify them so code-wise they come in. The text comes in above the image, or you just move it down so it's in the middle of the paragraph. So, does anybody have any questions on any of the updates?
Do you need to click on Show Bubbles?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you need to click on Show Bubbles?
That one's there. It's just showing the clicks and where they're going on here. But typically when you click on show percentiles here, they usually will pop up when you're looking at these lines.
Yeah.
But I don't know why it's not coming in.
What about show browser size?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Oh, that was already on. Okay. Maybe you just don't have enough traffic to the site.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, this has been a graveyard site for a while, so that's why we don't mind sharing it on webinars.
Can you adjust the dates so that you can go back far enough to, oh, we had 679. You've had some traffic.
So something to pay attention to, but Phantom is really dealing with your page layout algorithm. So those are probably your most important. You know, you want to make sure that you're controlling your bounce rate even on that first page of when they're coming in, especially if you went in and checked your analytics and you see a high percentage of bounce rate going on. You need to do something to drive people down into your site, and typically, you know, the thumbnails for your menu buttons or other cool tricks to engage your audience is going to do well in this aspect.
Yeah, I've noticed that not all responsive themes are created equal. That some of them don't scale down all the elements. Because it's like I'm looking at that one right there, and while it scaled the image nicely and it scaled the header nicely, it still left the H tag content really large.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of that thing is, I mean, that's definitely going to drive down user engagement even on mobile perspective. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys really need to pay attention to what it looks like. I mean, I don't even remember how many searches are coming in off of the cell phone now, but it's surpassed their PC-based searches. So, you know, and Google's been busy over the past 4 or 5 years buying up mobile ad companies. So they are all in on this. They're not going to deviate. So something to consider. You know, a lot of the things that we're looking at, I just can't stress, you know, you're looking at your page layout. The same rules that apply for a site are now kicked up some and applied to your mobile, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Considering all the other updates that they've done. So, anybody else have any other questions or anything on this, or?
Looks like there's a few people going to change their websites right now. So.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that my own usage on my phone, since I got the newer phone with a larger format, has been that I do a lot more on it. But when I want to surf, I still go to my desktop just because not enough websites are meaningful enough on my phone. I end up scrolling too much. So I can see where that's going to have to be the next big shift. People are really going to have to think about that and integrate a lot of these ideas. And I think until you do actually go see it on an iPhone, you don't realize some of the issues that your responsive theme or your layout in general has.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I mean, when you look at it from, you know, other perspectives, you know, certainly on a full desktop, I mean, you know, when I was researching the Phantom update, I was like, well, this site is fine overall in the PC wise, and then, you know, it just kind of hit me. It's like, oh, they're playing this to the mobile version of this site, duh. You know, it's
Right.
it's like, why didn't you think about that before? You know, it's all about the mobile update. So why not apply a page layout algorithm to the mobile version of sites?
Yeah.
So, and certainly, you know, some people just do the one page update. You know, they'll make a homepage version of their site, and then everything else will just kind of slough off. So, I mean, I would definitely pay attention if you guys have experienced any loss when you're going in and checking your analytics and your rankings. Go plop each of those pages into your, you know, because sometimes the homepage looks great. You know, somebody's taken time to really put those engagement factors on the mobile version of your site right there. But if you go in and you had a blog page that was doing really well before and now is struggling or doing the slow bleed like you saw in that one graph, I mean, go in and throw that in there and just take a look for yourself. Say, is this engaging to you? Because if it's not, you know, it's only going to get worse the more pages that Google indexes of your site. So, and that slow bleed will, hurt in the end.
Yeah, the other thing that I would say is if you're selling products on your site, what happens once you hit the actual sales funnel? Because a lot of that stuff you're not going to see the results of that in analytics, but you certainly do. So like one of my previous clients gets, when he went over to another SEO firm, when I got to the point where I couldn't take care of him anymore, he was already getting 30 to 40% of his traffic off of mobile. And these days, I just looked before the call, he's getting almost 70% of his stuff off of mobile. And it's cool with him because there's a phone number right at the top, and you can just click on the phone number and call. But if you're actually doing like an order on site, then what happens when somebody actually gets into your funnel? Like particularly if your funnel is off-site, does it still remain responsive? Is it still something that are you going to get a higher cart abandonment rate for online orders is the thing that I'm thinking. So I would say that the same thing applies all the way through. If you got an opt-in form, make sure that your opt-in form doesn't go wonky on a mobile. Just time to step up to that next reality check of where technology is going.
Yeah, and certainly, like your images. I think, Sue, when you and I were looking at it, we were seeing a lot of, you'd have images that are coming in, they're either coming in slow, so your load time is bad on them, which ties into your page speed algorithm that happened.
Yep.
And you also have images that aren't adjusting down to how they should on a mobile device. So
exactly.
All those types of things are going to play into the page layout algorithm, which is really what Phantom is all about. So you guys need to definitely pay attention to that stuff.
Yep.
So, what do you guys want to talk about? Got some spare time here. Does anybody have dire questions that they've been wanting to ask, or
any follow-up questions on this? Does everybody feel like they can go and make these changes if you haven't already and incorporate everything that you've learned in this particular webinar? Give me a 1 if you feel like you have everything you need to do it if you haven't already. And give me a 2 if you want to be bumped off the webinar. I'm just kidding, you guys. All right, that's awesome. Looks like we're doing pretty good. We're going to wait about 15 or 20 seconds to see if there's anything else you guys want to cover. Otherwise, we're going to close this call. We just wanted to make sure that you guys really, had an update on this, because this is extenuating circumstance. Heidi says, where can we check the speed download site?
Well, one of my favorite ones to use would be your GT metrics.
Yeah, that's what I use.
So it's just your gtmetrics.com. And I like using this one too because it'll tell you exactly what's lagging on your site. So let's just put in a site here and see what it does. So you guys can see this thing in action.
Nice.
So it's scanning the site.
That's hilarious. That's what we need, Sue.
Right?
See, and here you go. So, and that's something to consider, I mean, like, yeah, you might have made your site mobile compliant, but, how much slower on your phone does something load? I mean, if you're out and about and not connected to a Wi-Fi network, I mean, it's going to load slower than what it typically does. That's
wow,
why,
there's a video on that page. I didn't see that before.
Yeah, and that's why it's very important to just go in and check, because if you're in a restaurant or something, you're trying to pull up a website, it's going to naturally load slower, so you don't want to get this kind of grade. You know, you need to, you know, I like double A's, but you know, double B's would certainly be acceptable for me too, especially on most sites. Depends on how many image you got. But so when it goes into it, it's going to tell you, it's like, hey, you scored an F on here, and here are your issues. And it's saying, you know, I need to specify an expiration date for these specific images and stuff here. So, you know, that's all related to some cache control and things like that. So you really got to pay attention to how these are going. I mean, even just doing slight improvements on these are going to increase your mobile experience, and certainly, you know, just based off of some of the images that you guys saw, you know, I mean, if you look at this one, I mean, this site got rewarded after, you know, so we were sitting probably at number 7 here, and it definitely got rewarded once all the mobile stuff was cleaned up. So it's kind of cool to see that. So they are definitely doing a little rewarding for people that have their mobile stuff in check. So
Yeah, I know when Matt was doing Tech Foundation too, that he spent about 3 solid weeks figuring out how to get the pages to load as quickly as possible. And if you want an in-depth report on how to do that, it's definitely in that course. But one of the big things that he did, because the site that he was working on was his wife's hair salon site, which is just, it's so image heavy that it's not even funny. And he tried 2 or 3 different image compression applications where you take your JPEG or your PNG and you remove a lot of the data. But his wife was super picky that the pictures had to retain a high quality. So he was both trying to make the image as light as possible and make the and still keep the resolution. So there's a bunch of compression algorithms out there, but you might want to try 2 or 3 before you actually settle on one and not just take the first one, depending on how important the images are to your site. And then he went through, he did that, and he put everything on a CDN so that it would load, and then, you know, it's just some other stuff to try and get the JavaScript to load quicker and all of the stuff that only needs to load once, and all of that kind of good stuff. But it's, if you really dig in and do it well, depending on the site that you start with, it can take a while to get from a D or an F up to an A or a B. And again, it's just like, you know, back in the old days, back around 2000 when I was doing websites, and we had, I was, in particular, I remember the one website that I was doing for a B&B, which wanted to express how beautiful all the rooms were. It was an old Victorian house, and it was just spectacularly gorgeous. But at the same time, this is back when a lot of people were on dial-up, right? So you were stuck between that rock and a hard place of trying to make it so that, you know, it could download over 9600 baud and still express how beautiful the B&B was. So you kind of stuck back, not quite in such a tight space with mobile speeds, but it is, you do have to kind of go back to thinking about that. Not everybody is on fiber like Jimmy in Texas. Sorry, I had to get that dig in.
what? It's just a gigabit.
Yes, Heidi, I personally use CDNs. I know that we have varying opinions in our company about CDNs. There's pros and cons, and there's many, many circumstances. Definitely get a B or an A when you use a CDN, but there's downsides and upsides of all that. So we talk about CDN a lot in certification level 1 and a few other
Yes.
courses.
CDN is a content delivery network.
Yeah. So don't get us started unless you really want us to, and then you'll be sorry because there's a lot of different things. So I use, you know, sometimes you can go server side. There's controversy around Cloudflare. What is it? Cloudflare. Yeah. Free versus paid, I recommend paid. There's Max CDN. Max CDN is a pain in the butt for WordPress because there is W3C total cache required. There's a secondary option for backing it up. Total W3 total cache is total bloatware and is useful in some instances, but not in others, depending upon your plugin combo. My preference is to go just get your whole server to be backed up by a CDN if it's a paid, but it needs to be paid. And there's pros and cons. Max CDN can be used to manipulate trust. Not that Jimmy would ever tell us that. There's things like that. So, these are just the kinds of things that don't get us started. That is the downside of Cloudflare. If you like to hack and manipulate trust, and you want to use Max CDN and take our advanced courses or certification courses to learn that stuff. So there's a lot of different, sometimes you'll see in the Skype group, when you ask me a question, I'll say, it depends. This is what we mean. So that's worthy of note. But yeah, generally speaking, the simple man's version, even if you put it on a free Cloudflare account, you'll probably see a jump from a D to an A. I do not currently have Jimmy's site on a CloudFront. Probably needs to be put on a CDN. So does that make sense? I did put a video at the
other
top,
interesting
for now.
The other interesting thing is, do you guys see that video between Barry and John Mueller?
Which one?
Have you do research on that for the Phantom update?
No. Do you want to go over it?
Yeah, I just was curious if anyone else had.
No, we can drop it for everyone. They can take a look at it.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and find that. But
okay.
In it, Barry was having a discussion with John Mueller about, hey, my site looks like it's dealing with Panda issues. He's like, but we've addressed all the Panda issues, and now it looks like sites that had issues with Panda in the past are now getting revisited by Panda.
Huh.
But if you think about that, think about what we went over today. Like, does it make sense that they addressed the Panda issues on their site for their PC, but possibly not the mobile? All those rules
Right.
and things would apply for your mobile version of your site. So,
right.
Think about that. He does have a high engagement stuff, but, why? It's a good question they pose. Why would my site be revisited? So, that's just when you're thinking about that, you just want to know that, hey, page layout is going to apply to my mobile. I need to spend some extra time and make sure that user engagement is good and that I'm following the basic rules of images and above the fold type content going on there. So.
Okay. Got it. Fantastic. All right. Looks like we'll. Go ahead, Steve.
I think too that sometimes when Google's going to make a big change, that they kind of roll it out slowly. So I've seen this happen before, where they'll come out and they'll say, this is no longer an acceptable practice. Like, you need to, for example, move to mobile-friendly formats, and they'll start with kind of a gentle slap, and then when they take it up the next level, those things that raised maybe a 5-point flag before now raise a 10-point flag. And so I think you're seeing some of that at this point, and they might raise it again as they perceive that mobile is more and more important. And the other thing that I suspect you're going to see is certain topics, certain themes or keywords are going to be more mobile important than others. So where you see a lot of mobile traffic on certain kinds of sites, I think you're going to see those things also getting hit harder with mobile penalties. Now, that's just a guess. They might have rolled it out right smack across the board. I haven't seen enough data to say one way or another, but I have heard that, some people are saying, what update? And then other people are going, oh my gosh, I was completely trashed. And so the only reason that I can think of why some people would be hit and others not, assuming that the ones that weren't hit weren't already mobile compliant, would be that they're picking and choosing the themes. So restaurants and some of those things that are just hugely mobile, like they get 90% of their traffic off of mobile these days, might be hit a whole lot harder with those mobile flags than I don't know, an SEO company or something like that. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I would say that, just because you didn't get hit this time is not a reason to rest on your laurels, because, everything's just going to head that way more and more anyway.
Gotcha. Okay, excellent. All right, we should wrap this up unless you guys have any other questions. We'll get on with coding the software. We're working on all kinds of stuff. So has this been helpful for you guys? Give us a 1 if...
Yeah, let us know if you guys were interested in this or if we need to dive further. Or...
So give us a 1 if this was very, very helpful, and give us a 2 if this was very, very helpful. Go ahead. I'm waiting. Or a 3 if it was extraordinarily helpful. Okay, good. Smarty pants. All right, you guys, here's what's going on. We are going to be doing regular updates that are going to be exclusive or different than the first Tuesdays of every month. All of you, of course, in this chat or in this webinar are, of course, invited to the first Tuesday. That's more of a bring your own silo site, and various Network Empire team members show up depending upon availability, and we go through your own personal site. These are going to be more and more taking advantage of Jimmy and Sue's super high skill sets on this front to make sure that we have a conversation with everybody inside our private community about Google updates. This is one of the most requested things that we've had. So we're going to start doing this now. I don't have a set schedule just yet. I'll let you know when Sue and Jimmy decide what that schedule is going to be. We're probably looking at about once per month. I'm not sure if it's going to be more than that, so we'll just keep you informed. And so what I'll be doing is I'll let you know several days ahead of time when the Google update. Also, when there is an event, and that event might be unprecedented, it might be unexpected, we will do an update or a follow-up, especially if Jimmy and Sue have something important to say about it. We want our private membership community to be informed quickly on these topics, and so that's really what's going on, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. And with that being said, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. It is Friday, so that I hope that everybody takes a little bit of time. I know some of you are working a couple of businesses. I know a few of you. But I do hope you take time to rest and recover for the next upcoming week. We have lots of great stuff coming for you guys in the next couple of weeks, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Hey, Jimmy, Sue, thanks so much for showing up for this event, and we look forward to a whole bunch more information about this in upcoming events.
Thanks, Russell.
Thanks to everyone. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next webinar. Oh, by the way, hang on a second. Sorry. Back up on the soapbox. Those of you, there's several in you I notice are in certification level 1 and 2 already in here. Please note that we are relaunching certification level 2 in just 13 days. And for those of you, remember, it is a perpetual mastermind group. Please do show up. And this is perpetual. Certification level 2 is all about how to kickstart massive traffic and conversion, refining your traffic and conversion skills. Those of you who have not taken that course, pay attention to some upcoming newsletters where we're going to talk to you about how you can get in there. Anybody interested in that course, enrolling in the university level online marketing, SEO, and conversion certification level training, please do contact me at Skype at ThemeZoom. Okay, we'll see you guys on the next event. Thank you.